Okay, so everyone should be able to see my screen now. So today's session is about really songwriting and the creative process and how I like to think about it, and just hopefully this will give you some inspiration for your own journey, a creative journey. So, okay, so quick agenda. We'll go into an about me. We'll do an intro to songwriting, kind of look at the creative process, talk about overcoming creative blocks. We'll have some exercises and then do a Q&A. And if you do have any questions in the meanwhile, feel free to throw them in the chat. Okay, so to give you a bit of background, I've been writing songs for probably 10 plus years. It all kind of started when my parents bought my sister a guitar, which she, was asking for a very long time. Then, of course, as soon as she got it, she didn't play it. So we just had this guitar lying around the house. And I was like, kind of bored. I think I was like 12. And really just started that's how I got into music, just started to learn to play all of my favorite artists on the guitar. It was a different way of experiencing music kind of from the other side. And my mom was like, well, why don't you try to write a song? And I was like, are you crazy? Write a song? I can't write a song. I'm not qualified to write a song. To me, it seems so wild. But very slowly, I started to listen differently to songs. And I'll go into that later. But I was like, wait, I really believe anyone can write a song. And so that's what I kind of want to give you guys ideas and inspiration to do so. And so I started writing my stuff, kind of performing, really open mics here and there. And then it really wasn't until COVID, when we really couldn't perform anymore, that I started to record, got a grant from Canadian Council of the Arts, recorded my EP, and really ever since then have kind of been exploring this production phase of things, playing more shows. Yeah, and then you can find my music also on Spotify under Paulina Morgan and Instagram. That's me. Okay, so first to kind of start, I wanted to ask the audience, you can throw this in the chat, just really quickly, when you're listening to a song, what stands out most to you? It could be, or do you feel like first you're thinking about the lyrics? Are you listening to the music? Is there something else that really stands out to you in the song? Okay, lyrics and melody, yeah, how those two intertwine. Music, okay, music, lyrics. So a good combination of the two. Storytelling, that's a great one. Connection of the artist to the song. Yep. The beat. Yeah, those are all really great elements of a song. Sonics. Okay, I like that. I guess to add to this question, I'd love to kind of learn more about the audience too. Can you put in the chat maybe where are you kind of in your stage, in your songwriting or creative stage? Are you like just wanting to kind of learn and explore about it? Have you been writing songs for 25 years? What's kind of like your level, so I kind of maybe know how to tailor this a little better as well, if you feel like sharing. You can say, I guess, like, just want to find out more about it, or just started. Okay. Writer, careers about songwriting. Yep. Okay. So not sure how to get started, been writing songs. Okay, so we have a good mix. Started earlier this year. New producer, artist, writing lyrics is a problem. Writing songs since I was a kid. Nice. Learning to play music and looking next steps. Want to learn more. Okay, so this is great. I think my goal is to kind of give an overview and to give you some things to think about. Worked in theater and film, writer, struggle to do more than appreciate music. Okay. I think due to the nature of this, I'll be focusing a little bit more on the lyrics side, but we'll be touching on the music as well, just because I feel lyrics is really a great place to start. That's really how I started, writing words and then the music. So let's dive into it. Okay, so first, thinking about what makes songs special, and I think you guys kind of really touched upon this in the responses you gave me. Songs tell stories. And honestly, I think songs and music are kind of magic because they're a way to translate different emotions and different feelings through just this thing that we're hearing through a sound wave. I think the coolest thing, though, is it's also a means to express ourselves, both when we're listening and when we're performing. And really, songs help us to gain a deeper understanding of music, ourselves, and the world. So I think if you're here, you kind of understand, you probably all love music or writing or creativity, and you understand like the importance of that brings to our lives and the world. So how do you learn to write a song? I touched upon this earlier, but I really think it starts with listening like a writer. So before I started to think about writing songs, I would just listen to music the way I would listen to music, not really think about it. But it was when I started to think about, wait, I want to think about songwriting, you start listening differently. So I want to challenge you over the next couple of days when you're listening to the radio or your favorite artist, listen differently. Listen by trying to pick out the different elements that I'm going to go into here. Think about, how is a song structured? What makes the song interesting? What are the dynamics of a song? To be honest, I think I started learning about songwriting from just my favorite artists. Like, I know it's cliche, but Taylor Swift, when I was 12 years old, I started to break down her songs. It'd be like, wait a second, what is she doing here? Okay, it's a verse, a chorus, a verse, stuff like that. Think about your favorite artist doing that. Look for key elements, right? So lyrics, melody, harmony, rhythm. Try to think about how can you break those up, and really be able to pick one out. Listen to the same song several times, but try to focus the first time only on lyrics. The second time, focus maybe only on the music part of it, the beat part of it. And then break down the structure, right? The cool but also tricky thing about songs is that you only have 3 or 4 minutes, sometimes depending, you can explore, but you have a very limited amount of time to tell a story. So you have to be very conscious about what goes into every single part and how it kind of flows. So let's look at the key elements of a song. This is kind of, songs can be different, but this is probably what you're going to see. So sometimes you have an intro, basically a section that kind of leads us into the story. But really what we see oftentimes is a verse. What is a verse? A verse sets the story or the theme. A chorus is that central part of your song. It gets repeated several times. It's usually the most memorable part. It has a hook. It's kind of what drives the message home. Then you have another verse that continues to carry that story. The chorus, once again, and then the bridge. The bridge is interesting. If you listen to a song and there's a part kind of near the end that's a little different, that's usually the bridge. And there's so many cool things you can do with the bridge. It's a way to maybe tie the story together. It's a way, for me, I like to do something different sonically there. So the bridge is something that kind of stands out. Then you have your chorus again, and then you have an outro. This is a very kind of standard thing, but if you start thinking about, wait, I think this is how a song is structured, you start listening to the radio, you're going to start seeing these patterns. So this is a lot, but we're going to break this down. I wanted to break down a song to give you an example. And actually, this is one of the songs I released in 2023, I believe. And I want us to first just listen to it. I'm going to play the lyric video, and then we're going to break it down to kind of bring it all together. So I'm going to play the lyric video. Let's just go through this. And maybe the first time you're listening to it, you can listen to it like just a song, but try to think about where are all those parts and focus in on a maybe element of a song.
Take the car in the middle of the night and drive. You took my heart like a thief in the night and you lied. I believed every word you said, 'cause you made it look pretty. I was hurting so bad, I didn't realize until the end. It was not love, it was just pretend. But what a story, oh my God. Yeah, I swore that it could be love. I took a train to your hometown and you showed me all around. The forest escaped the city, my small apartment where you kissed me, just for us to end up here, like a car with a gas tank empty.
Cool. So, you guys maybe picked some stuff out. Um, I've color coded it. So, intro, something that I like to do in my songs that maybe will give you an idea, something you see in other songs. I like to create the circle. So when I do use an intro, I kind of like to bring it back to the end of the song as the outro as well, because it creates this interesting, like it's almost like, oh, we come back to where we started, but we're now in a different place. And it's like the song can almost repeat. So here, I mean, I guess to give you context, I wrote the song. It's basically like a breakup song. It's like, the end of a relationship. And the whole idea that I had when I guess the inspiration behind the song is when this relationship kind of ended suddenly, it felt like very sudden out of the blue. And I right away thought of like this idea of a car just kind of running out of gas in the middle of the road before it could kind of get to where it's going. And I used that to really center the song around that idea. So intro, it's in red, take the car in the middle of the night and drive, I drive. That's also how I end the song. That's the outro. So verse one. Verse one is meant to kind of set up the song. So here, you took my heart like a thief in the night, kind of shows, okay, so, this relationship started, but you lied, lied, lied. So maybe it was kind of ups and downs. I believed every word you said. You made it look pretty. I was hurting so bad. I didn't realize till the end it was not love. It was just pretend. Okay, so we've set up the story. It's this relationship, kind of up and down, but it's not really love. And then you have the chorus. The chorus, you see that gas tank empty idea at the end. I usually like to name my songs also with like something in the chorus because that's usually the idea or the image you're trying to drive home. So for me, you know, with a song, you're telling a story, but I'm almost like on the nose here. Oh, but what a story. Like, this is looking back. I could swear that it was love. Then it's visuals. I took a train to your hometown. You drove me all around. So we did all these things. And then we ended up here like a car with a gas tank empty. That's kind of the main idea. Then we go into verse two, and it's continuing kind of the story that you were setting up with verse one, and it ties back to the chorus. So, again, you said my name and you whispered it, and there's different elements here. There's repetition, quiet, quiet, quiet. There's different rhyme structures, so keep that in mind as well. Kept repeating it till it turned to ash in your mouth, you spit it out. So, okay, things are not going well. And basically, you couldn't handle it. It was sweet till it turned to poison. I told you all these things. Back to the chorus. The chorus is something that basically stays consistent even as you're weaving the story with the verses. Then the bridge, I don't know if you noticed it, but also sonically, like I mentioned, I like to experiment. So I would say it's like I like to place that almost as a place for different instrumental expression. And usually this is kind of like the climax of the story. This is like, where was it getting to? How does it maybe end? And here I'm describing the specific moment, basically, of the breakup. So, and it's slightly different melodically too. So when you came to me for the last time, you said you had to go, you couldn't love me enough. I just cried. I'm setting up also scenery. So out in the corner under the Christmas lights to New Year, I promised I would never listen to those lies. But it's kind of like also bittersweet because you're like, wait, but we had all these memories. So we're going back to the chorus. And then we bring it full circle with the outro. That was the intro. And it's kind of like some of it is also open to interpretation. It's like, is she driving away? Is she driving to him? Are they driving somewhere? Like those are kind of little things that you can create meaning for yourself, and other people can create meaning for themselves as well. So this is kind of like the basic structure of how do you structure a song. But there's also other elements of a song. I won't necessarily go into detail, but I just want you guys to think about melody, right? The music of it, lyrics, the words. There's so much you can do. There's so many different plays on words. Honestly, what I do is usually a song starts for me with like a line. It's a line that I just kind of like get in my head and I write it down on my notes app in my phone. And that lyric is going to kind of center the song. So think about keeping a little journal. Harmony, rhythm, structure, we just talked about instrumentation, it's interesting because some genre is something I kind of struggle with. I always say I'm a singer-songwriter because I start with just my guitar or piano, but it's crazy how many places you can take a song with production. And that's almost a whole other session. We're not going to go into that, but we'll just focus about like, you know, the song, no matter the genre, should be able to kind of stand on its own with just one instrument. So, but instrumentation can do a lot for a song. Dynamics. How do you kind of make it grow so that it's not just kind of like one plateau line? How do you make a song interesting? And you can do that through, how you sing it, how you do your instrumentation, just things like that. The hook is usually a line that kind of really catches you and something you go back to. It's usually repeated. I would say the hook in that song we listen to would be like a gas tank empty, genre and style, and then the production. I do want to touch upon rhyming though, because obviously when you think about a song, rhyming is very important to it. Um, there's a lot of different rhymes, but I really want you guys to think outside of the box because you don't want to do the thing that's people are expecting of you to do, like the walking in the rain, seeing through the pain, like those are cool, but really try to think about things that are unconventional. I just kind of gave you some examples of different rhymes. So there's perfect rhymes like love and dove. There's kind of like slant rhymes, which sometimes are a bit more interesting. So similar but not exact, like heart and star. Also depends on kind of how you sing it. Internal rhyme, so rhymes within the same line. Time is prime, the bells chime. Um, Also, you kind of want to keep a consistent structure. So, for example, I like to rhyme the first and the third line, the second and the fourth. Sometimes it makes sense to rhyme the first and the second, third and the fourth. This is the kind of stuff that I want you to be thinking about when you're looking at your favorite song. When you're listening to your favorite song, pull up the lyrics and be like, what rhyme structure are they using here? And then think about how can I use that in my own song? You can do a repetition of vowel sounds, day, play, or a repetition of consonant sounds, wind, land. And these are just, very kind of basic examples. There's so much you can kind of do here. But really it's all about playing around with it, seeing what kind of works. I also want to touch about a little bit on music. I don't think you need to even know how to play an instrument at all to be able to write a song. Oftentimes, your favorite songs on the radio, there's actually like 5+ songwriters on it. So you'll have somebody who does lyrics, somebody who does music. There's somebody who did one verse, and sometimes people get credits just for being in the room and creating a vibe. So you just need to kind of focus on what you're able to bring to the table. But even if you can't play an instrument, if you're able to kind of have a melody in your head and then you're able to work with somebody who kind of is a musician and you can communicate that, feel that's totally cool. But I would, recommend. I mean, I love music. I love playing the guitar. I'm learning the piano. So it's always helpful, but not at all a must. But to touch on music, um, I think that even when we're listening to music, let's say of a different language, even if when we don't understand the words, we can kind of still get what, they're trying to convey. And that's the power of music, is that kind of communication of emotions and that emotional language. So there's different chords, the major chords make you feel happy, the minor chords make you feel sad, playing around with that. Music is meant to support lyrics, so you don't really want to have like a really sad lyric song, but like happy upbeat music, unless you're trying to do that. So try to think about what makes sense cohesively. And oftentimes, like catchy melodies is really what brings people in, even if they don't necessarily understand the lyrics or whatever, it's the music that's going to bring them in. So kind of basic structures of that, you have the melody, so the main tune of the song kind of carries the emotional essence. So for example, like a vocal line of a chorus is a melody. Your harmony is the chord progression. There's a saying like a good song or a good country song is 3 chords and the truth, And so really your basic radio songs, I say basic, they're not even basic, but that's like 4 3 chords. It's really all you need to learn. So try maybe challenge yourself if you don't play an instrument yet, just learn 4 chords and see where that gets you. And the rhythm, right? So obviously like the beat or the groove, This is sometimes used more in like genres like hip hop and R&B, though there is rhythm in all sort of genres. Um, Tips for creating music, like I said, experiment with different chord progressions. You know, a lot of people learn scales and keys and they try to be very scientific about it. But when I started playing music, honestly, all I did was I picked up the guitar and I would play around and see what sounds cool. And if I hit on some, I still do that. I don't really do it scientifically. So just kind of learn as much as you can and play around with it as much as you can. You know, humming, improvising to discover those melodies. You know, even if you don't play an instrument, you can still create a melody in your mind and then work with a musician to translate that to chords or to notes. And, you know, keep it simple. Like it does not have to be overly complex. And in fact, like some of the best songs are technically simple, but you can create a lot, you know, with kind of those with emotions just by keeping it simple, but if you have the right kind of like mood and emotion and message you're trying to convey. Just a quick overview on genres. I'm sure this is nothing new to everyone, but kind of thinking about maybe how it differs. You know, I'm not a huge fan of genres because I don't love boxing in saying I'm this or I'm this. I still don't know what my genre is, to be honest, because like I mentioned, you know, I write a song, I don't think about what genre I'm going to make it. It kind of matters when you go into production, but ideally, I love working with producers that aren't necessarily like trying to box me in either. Um, so you do see similarities, but this is just guidelines. You got to know the rules in order to break them. You know, I really support thinking outside of the box. But generally in pop, you know, your radio pop songs, you're seeing catchy melodies. Yeah, exactly. You don't need a box. I agree. Um, So pop catchy melodies, usually they focus on strong hooks and they keep lyrics simple yet emotive. And I know that sometimes pop music gets hate, but actually I really respect a good pop song. It's so hard to take complex ideas and emotions and distill them into the perfect, like, you know, pop song is a really good pop song is a good pop song for a reason. So I think pop does a great job of keeping it simple but very effective. Then you have rock, where you generally, you know, you'll see elements like electric guitar riffs, powerful vocals, a lot of dynamic energy. So there you're really emphasizing emotion and performance. You're experimenting with different chord progressions. Hip hop and rap. So again, that emphasis on rhythm, that storytelling. It's very beat driven. You prioritize kind of the rhythm and the floor and the flow, an opportunity to explore all sorts of different themes there. Jazz is usually instrumental, but doesn't have to be. A lot of that is improvisation, and that kind of style of improvising kind of you know, it's good to learn classical, for example, piano, but also the cool thing about jazz is that you learn how to improvise, right? And that's very helpful with creating things. Um, Electronic and dance, you know, kind of fun, infectious beat, R&B and soul, really focuses on those grooves to anchor the melody. Indie alternative, I think a lot of things can fall in that bucket, but that's where you kind of break traditional song structures. And you know, I have songs that don't even have a chorus. You know, the structure we just went over, that's kind of your basic general structure. But I have songs that the chorus just doesn't make sense. And it's almost like just a couple long verses. The fact that a song has to be 3 or 4 minutes stems from the idea that, you know, radio stations needed to kind of fit into it, into this little thing. But now the music world, the creative world is changing so much. Like example, Taylor Swift's All Too Well, which was what like an 8-10 minute single. People loved that. You know, they didn't let her release that when she was releasing the album because it was too long. But like just really, you know the rules so you can break them. And then you have folk, which a lot of things fall into this as well. But I guess I have a question for you guys. What's your favorite genre of music? Is it, you know, any of the ones we talked about? And can you pinpoint why? Maybe first we can start with like what do you think your favorite genre of music is? And maybe I'll go back like here to give you guys some idea. Throw it in the chat. Let me know. I don't even know if I have a favorite genre of music. I think I like okay, Maxwell enjoys most genres aside from death metal. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think I can probably find really great songs in most genres. Personally, I kind of like it. Okay, folk. Yeah. Hip hop, bit of everything. Pop, I like everything. Indie alternative, pop, R&B, hip hop. Yeah. Anything with well-written lyrics. Yep. Mixture of everything. Yeah, I think, now with like streaming, we have access to so much music. Um, But I feel like, for example, with my music, I feel like it caters to people who care about the lyrics. And I think there's definitely a subset of people who like don't care about it and people who like that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, genres are just they're just a way to format things that we don't necessarily need to follow. I know I'm contradicting myself, but cool to see that we have different tastes and ideas. Okay, so in terms of the actual process, inspiration plus structure equals magic. So I think that you kind of need two things to write a song. One is an understanding of kind of how am I going to frame what I'm trying to say, but you can't really just write if you kind of have nothing in the well, so to speak, right? You need some sort of inspiration. And when you kind of already have this background of knowing how you're going to frame what you're going to say, and you have a strong sense of inspiration or an emotion or something that you just feel needs to get out, that and you know how to say it, that's when the magic happens. So I would say there's kind of three different stages. I really do think it all starts with inspiration and idea generation. Yes, you can definitely force yourself to write, but the way that I approach songwriting is unless I'm in a co-write where I kind of have to bring ideas to the table, I don't ever try to force it. And I have periods in my life where I'm writing like every day, and I have periods in my life where I don't write anything for weeks. That's totally normal. I think you can't chase the inspiration too hard. You have to just kind of live and be receptive to it and let it come to you. So it really does start with that inspiration. And then you just crafting it, right? So crafting the lyrics, crafting the melody, and putting that into some sort of a structure. In terms of inspiration and where you find it, I think just living your life. For me, a lot of my inspiration stems from my own personal life, kind of, my relationships, the good, the bad, traveling to different places, just different things happening in the world. I am trying to challenge myself more personally about writing more about like imaginative stories and less about just what's going on in my life, because that way you can kind of stretch yourself as an artist. So really you can get inspiration from anything, right? Like kind of storytelling. You can basically make up stories in your head. You can if you learn about, I don't know, you go to a museum and you learn about some character, challenge yourself, write a song about that, put yourself in their shoes. How would they feel? What would they think? I find that actually other art really helps to inspire too. Listening to other music, reading books, watching movies kind of can help you get those creative juices flowing. Co-writing is really cool. If you find yourself with somebody who's willing to write, really take that opportunity. Um, I find that when you're writing by yourself, you kind of have to keep writing, but oftentimes you'll find yourself coming back to the same themes or the same chords. But when you're co-writing and it's the right kind of, alchemy, you can create something really cool together because you're trying something you haven't tried before. The other person is trying something that maybe you do, but they haven't tried. So challenge yourself to co-write and really start somewhere, start anywhere, just start. Just don't be afraid. So on that note, we're gonna do a little exercise. I'm gonna set a timer for 2 minutes. This is just to kind of get us out of our heads. This is free writing. I actually recommend you guys do this every day if you can, or as regularly as you can. basically what it means is without thinking, you're going to write for 2 minutes. You can write about anything. If you need a prompt, just start writing about your day, right? So just start writing, okay, I did this, see where it takes you. And then after 2 minutes, we will put you can type this, we're not going to share this, you can write this, you'll stop writing, and then you kind of see what you have. And sometimes you'll be surprised in terms of what you can pull out of it for inspiration. So I will be setting a timer. If you guys don't know what to write about, just write about your day. And we'll do this. Okay. And all right, timer starts now. And I'm gonna do this as well. Okay, pencils down. 2 minutes goes by pretty quick, I find, when you're trying to write. But maybe take a moment and reread in your head what you just wrote. And does it surprise you? Were you expecting it? Is there anything you can pull for a line, for a song, right? This is the kind of stuff that I really recommend to like just start writing because you don't know what's gonna come out. And that's what's really cool. This exercise makes me realize that I'm a broken man. That can do that, and that's okay, you know, that's the point of it. Just reading the chat. Um, this is something I like to do when I feel like I have a creative block. Um, this is a really great exercise, right? Just to start doing something and to kind of make a little movement. I would say, like I mentioned before, the ups and the downs are natural. Don't force it and give it time, you know, unless you're um a songwriter at a big publishing house and you need to write a song for tomorrow. Like, yeah, maybe do that. But don't force it because oftentimes the inspiration will come back to you. So just some practical tips, free writing and journaling. I've been keeping a journal for years, just as a way for personal reflection. And it's a great way to kind of like go back and pick out ideas from that as well if you want to kind of create art from that. Collaborating with others, um, basically really great way to, get outside of your own box. Embracing imperfection. Um, don't don't really think about the end result as much as the progress. And we do have some chat activity. I think some good things here. One of my songwriting mentors recently told me that if you think you can't write or are stuck, it isn't because you can't write, it's because you're setting the bar too high. And that was super helpful. Yeah, Jade, that's a really great comment. That goes back to embracing imperfection. Everyone can write. I really believe that everyone can write a song. I know that. Or anything. So it's just about like, yeah, going for it. Changing your perspective, honestly, little things like going for a walk, as little as going for a walk or as big as going on a trip, that can kind of make you see things through new eyes and listen to something new. Maybe listen to a genre you wouldn't normally listen to a song you wouldn't listen to. Yeah, I was gonna ask if you guys have any other ideas, but so if you do, please throw them in the chat. I think, yeah, Jay's comment is very true. Only thing that stops me from writing is when I'm not working on the project my mind needs to work on. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think a part of it is like, you have to be the good mindset as well, mind space. And I find that I can't write when I'm stressed. That's actually a very interesting idea, is that um I used to get good songwriting ideas just before like falling asleep because I was kind of relaxed. And then I'm like, oh, I have to wake up now and put that down. So try to be relaxed. You can look up songwriting prompts. I've written some of my favorite songs about things I never thought about writing about. Totally. Um, Missed the question. Maxwell, basically any inspire ideas for overcoming creative blocks. So Jade said, looking up songwriting prompts. Yeah, that's a great tool. Um, Sometimes you. Yeah, so I think you guys have the idea. Thank you, Fermina. Um, don't force it and kind of let it come to you, but be open to it as well. Okay. I would love for us to put this into practice. And basically, we'll go out into breakout rooms. So Neil's going to help us creating small groups. So essentially, you will be collaborating to create a short song concept. Really just focus on getting a verse and a chorus or developing a basic melody. And I'm going to give you some prompts. You can either use all three or any single one of them. And you can use it as loosely or as closely to the prompt as you would like it. So the theme is a new beginning, and or starting line, the sun rose on a quiet town, and or a random object, a worn out suitcase. So using those three themes, I guess try to take a picture of this or write it down since we're going to be put into breakout rooms. Come up with a verse and a chorus. Use very simple rhyme structure. You can come up with melody ideas, but really focus on the lyrics here. And keep it fun and low pressure. Sharing is completely optional. You don't have to if you don't want to. If you want to, please do. So we'll give you guys about 10 to 15 minutes. And please just feel free to share. You can make sure somebody in the group kind of has it down on their notes or something, just to remember it. But otherwise, do you guys have any questions before we begin this? Okay, then Neil, I think you can put everyone into a room.
I've got it ready to go. I hope this works. Let's find
All
out.
right.
Good
Have
luck,
fun,
everyone.
guys.
Yeah.
To kind of wrap all this up, I think this is just part of kind of living a broader creative life. I think that songwriting is just one channel. It's all about really staying open to inspiration. There's a great book called The Creative Act by Eric Rubin, and he really talks about this. I recommend you guys all read it. But it's really about embracing curiosity and wonder in your daily life, and really being tuned in to your own self and seeking those opportunities to express yourself. Whether that's through art or music or writing or anything else you love to do. Really focus on the process of creating, not just the outcome. I know that in my past, I have over 500 songs written, and not everything that I write even makes it out into the world. It's kind of at this point where for me it's just like almost like a way of life. It's a habit. It's a way of process emotions. And in the process of creating that, especially in the beginning, it was like so much frustration because I had an idea of, where I wanted to be, but then I was like, I could hear it in my head, but it wasn't coming out the way I wanted it to. And so really lean into that. Like, do not get discouraged by that. There's another really great book called The Artist's Way, and she really talks about kind of the process over the result. Like, you'll get to the result, but in order to get there, you have to go through these kinds of like ups and downs, and a lot of it is like sometimes being like, oh, am I good enough, whatever. Like, don't really listen to that voice. Just keep creating, and don't be afraid to honestly like be cringe sometimes, because that's really how you get somewhere. Like, don't let anything stop you. So yeah, keep going. Be present, really pay attention to the world around you. If you kind of tune yourself to being open to that inspiration, it'll come. Like I said, stay curious, ask questions, explore new ideas. The fact that you guys are here means that you guys are already so curious, which I love. Capture ideas. I know somebody who, my brother, he has always so many great ideas, but then I feel like he never writes them down. And I'm just like, what's the point of this if you don't have the discipline to write it down? So you never know when you're going to get an idea. It could be when you're walking, when you're falling asleep, when you're talking to someone. Keep some sort of notebook or notes just to write that down. Embrace playfulness. Don't judge your ideas. Just let them come out basically how they are. And, find inspiration in each other. I mean, even that little tiny moment of us sharing our songs, that inspired me. Like, that's so cool to see what can get created. Um, yeah, so ideas and discipline equals output, right? So um, have those ideas, but have that discipline to write it down, to structure it, to get it out on paper, and to like record it on your phone to remember what you wrote. Change your perspective, allow imperfection, and keep some sort of a routine. I find that as much as I don't like to force it, just regular practice, even if it's, playing your instrument without the intention of writing anything or just writing, like you never know what's going to happen. Listen like a writer, try to listen to things differently. And honestly, just be brave. Be brave and start writing like you guys already are. Proud of all of you. Yeah. Now I'll open the floor to Q&A. If you scan this QR code, it does go to my music Instagram and you can find my I think Spotify. I'll be releasing a song next Friday. So if you want to keep up with any of that, and honestly if you have any questions, please feel free to message me. I love to connect with you guys. Yeah, just thank you so much. And again, if you have questions, I guess feel free to either throw them in the chat or talk out loud, anything like that.
Thank you. It was very nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Abiel. Okay, well,
If you have any comments about getting started in the industry, like how it's been for you, and
absolutely. Yeah, I kept this more in terms of like the creation progress, but I would say start within your community. So there's a lot of really great artists in Edmonton. Just start going to open mics. You're gonna start seeing a lot of the same faces, I find, and start kind of honing that skill. And honestly, apply for grants, because the truth of the matter is, if you wanna like record a song, it's not cheap, and don't ever think like I'm not experienced enough, because the grants are meant to support you in your journey. I got my first grant during COVID. It was Canada Council of the Arts. I basically barely had any professional recordings at that point. Just apply, look up different grants, because the business side of it, the financial side is a real side of it if you want to like do stuff in the industry and start releasing. So yeah, build your network, build your community network, apply for grants, go to open mics, and just go out to like shows and just see like what's going on, meeting other artists. And then from there, build on that block. Then maybe if you've done enough open mics, see if you can open for someone or even have your own show at a coffee shop. Like just start somewhere and kind of keep going from there. That's what I would say.
I put this in the chat. I was just wondering, I got the time mixed up. It's been a weird day. Would you be able to send the recording of this session out, or
Yeah, Neil, because I do have the recording, so I was wondering how would we go about that?
Well, basically, it's downloading to your computer right now.
Yeah.
So pretty much how you would go from here is if anybody who wants the recording, if they shared their email, and then Paulina, you could upload it to a cloud and then just give them access via the email
Yes.
for them to download it.
Okay, yes. If you would like the recording, write your email in the chat, and I'll send you guys access to that once I have this uploaded. Okay. Nice. Just copying those over. Lovely. Okay, okay, good. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, thanks for sending me your emails, guys. I will send you that as soon as we have that uploaded. Okay. Anything else?
I do have a question if I got a second here.
Yes.
For finishing songs, what is a strategy that you use to complete things? Because I have a lot of projects started, but my finishing is not great.
Mm-hmm. I would say, um, start with the one you're most that you feel comes easiest to you. Like usually, I know what you mean. Like I have songs that I feel like I've written in 20 minutes, and I have songs where I'm like, it's been a week and I don't know how to finish it. So as much as I say don't force it, like if it's not working, put it to the side, come back to it tomorrow. And honestly, if like it's been like a couple weeks, I don't want to say give up, but like sometimes you just need to restart. So if it's overwhelming, just make a list and prioritize the one that you feel like comes easiest to you. And then I feel like once you have a sense of progress, you'll be like, okay, it's not as overwhelming. And then, or split it up. Like if you want to, over a week, be like, hey, today I'm just going to focus on the verse, or I'm just going to focus on the chorus. I think by kind of splitting it up into bite-sized pieces, that might help. Yeah.
I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hey,
Hey.
I have a question regarding because I am looking forward to be more outside this summer and just like go to like more open mics and just see people perform, network with people, meet other musicians and stuff like that. Do you know where we can sort of get like those updates to see where those shows are happening and stuff like that?
Yeah, so basically, I like to just honestly, it's been a while since I did open mics because I'm kind of just doing more shows now. But I would say like Facebook and just searching Edmonton open mics, you'll find like different. Honestly, like Facebook groups are good for that. That's for open mic specifically. And really, the best way to do it is you go start at one open mic and you talk to the people there, because usually half the people at an open mic, like look, even we have comments here. This is great. So Andrea is saying Felice Cafe has a songwriter open mic once a month. That's great. Rooster Kitchen has a bunch. So really, I would use Google, but then I would choose one open mic that you like, and honestly try to talk to the people there, or even ask the organizer, because that's kind of how I did it when I was doing a lot of open mics. It's been a while since I did those. I know Folk Fest is obviously like a bigger event, but it's a little overwhelming, but it's pretty great in terms of just seeing like bigger artists, and sometimes you have like local acts on the stages in between, kind of like approaching those. There we go. Neil just posted a link in the chat for open mic nights in the area on Reddit. Those kind of forums are really great ways to start. Yeah, so I would bookmark that link that Neil just posted as well. And then once you start meeting other kind of musicians, talk to them. That's the best way, like word of mouth.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. How would you go about finding a musician to work with? If I'm better at writing but have a hard time playing, how do I find someone who will be looking to play more than write? Jade, I would say the same thing, open mic, to be honest, especially if you are looking for people who just want to write. That's actually kind of a struggle sometimes, just finding co-writing people. I would say other local musicians. If you're going on an open mic, you just like somebody's sound or someone's vibe, honestly, just don't be afraid and go up to them. I do that all the time. People there are really friendly and just willing to like open up and share their music. That would be my recommendation for that. Look, even Maxwell here, I think, is potentially a musician who wants to be picked. So, like, even here, I mean, if you guys are looking for... honestly, I feel like we had some great co-writing, so I'm wondering what would be the best way for people to connect, like, with each other. Yeah. Neil also says, rocking for dollars at the Buckingham. Yep, they have good co-host open mics. Yeah, and honestly, if you guys have any more questions, like feel free to message me on Instagram. I think, I have resources. I think there was another question about grants. Alberta Music is a really great way to look at resources. If you go on their website, it's kind of the Alberta Music Association. It's the Music Association in Alberta. They host events. Those are really great for learning about different elements of the industry. But also, I believe they have a page on their website that has all the grant resources. I just off the top of my head, organizations like Factor, there's Edmonton Arts Council that does grants as well. There's Canada Council for the Arts, Alberta, it's called AFA, Alberta Funding for the Arts as well. But Alberta Music is a great resource to check out for that kind of stuff. Tips for getting past feeling self-conscious about and just doing it. Yeah, I mean, if you're referring to performing, my tip and trick has always been like turn the anxiety into excitement, because it's a lot of the same feelings. Okay, writing. Don't judge it. Just like I said, I think try to use the exercises to start free writing, and just don't judge yourself is the biggest thing. I think that using a prompt, just looking up like prompts for songwriting can help you to get started. You don't have to write about your own self. Just choose a story, choose a favorite character in a movie or book, start writing about that. Honestly, just it's it's just start. It's hard, but that's just how it is, and then gain momentum, and then go from there, I would say. Yeah. Lyric classes on Zoom every month with a school from Toronto. Okay. Great for beginners. Yep. Yeah. And yeah, I think, if you guys came here and listened to this, then like you're already off to a great start. So you can totally do it. And if you write something, feel free to send it to me too. I would love to hear it or see it, give any feedback, or just listen, So yeah, feel free to do that as well. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you guys so much again. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. I will send the recording to the emails that were provided, and I hope to stay in touch with all of you. Let's connect.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. You as well.